Greetings all. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource, the new channel, Dorsey's Resource 873. The topic of this video is going to be strawman. What is the legal definition of strawman? Where did it derive from? I plan on discussing the very basics of this historically. I wanted to discuss what is the legal definition of strawman. The legal definition of strawman is a term referred to as in lingus, by the way. In lingus. In case you're unfamiliar, in lingus is the meaning in law. It deals with the artificial person or artificial being, by the way. Many there's been skepticism throughout the years. Is this straw man stuff real? Historically, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. It derives from a term that goes back to Roman law, Greek and Roman mythology. This term, which is related to capitis diminutio maxima, or some it was pronounced, the term was diminutio capitis maxima. And what this meant, this term was noted back during Roman times as degradation into an inferior civil condition through the loss of rights of freedom, citizenship, or family. The extreme form of it, diminutio capitis maxima, was entailed by the loss of freedom, which involved the loss of all other rights, by the way. Capitis diminutio, or capitis diminutio, diminished capacity, is a term used in Roman law referring to the extinguishing either in whole or in part of a person's former status and legal capacity. There were three changes of state or condition attended with different consequences: maxima, media, and minima. Like, for example, capitis diminutio minima is you sign in all lowercase, you retain all rights. A lot of people don't understand there's grammatical rules and then there's rules, there's a legal definition, because many of these terms that we use in this English language, they have multiple meanings, and not only dual meanings, there's a legal definition behind them, because there's some will argue out there that this whole thing, this related to the so-called sovereign citizen movement, sovereign citizen, the straw man thing is a myth. I remember years ago when a credit union put out a statement that they called it the sovereign man scam with the straw man. And a guy I was learning from who had a lot of experience battling judges in court and would tell me his specific experience and what he would say to the judge and stuff like that. And I would take notes when I was learning about this information for the first time back in 2004. We didn't have the advanced information that we have now. This is why I'm going over some of the basics. This is history wise. You can actually look this up. You can look these terms up. But to do your homework, do your research, you will find this information to be true. This information is also in a book called Cracking the Code that is no longer in print anymore. There was contributors from years ago. There was a guy named Barton Butts and Dan Benham. I know a lot of people in the redemption movement, I like to call it, I don't use the other term, like to throw Patrick Devine's name out there. But understand, guys, Patrick Devine was not the original one in this movement. There was a lot of people who contributed behind the research to this information. You had Gene Keating was a name that was popularized. I've talked to former inmates, people in prisons. They studied Gene Keating's work, and it was a culmination of all of these people that helped us get to where we got to now. Even during Patrick Devine's time, there was a document online. You still might be able to find it, where he was networking with Tom Schultz. Tom Schultz, in case you're unaware, was instrumental in helping develop the original technology behind the 1099 process. Yusuf Ill went into some of this history years ago to give credit to where credit is due. So a lot of people become very egotistical and arrogant and acting as though they created the information. And that's not to poo-poo. There was a combination. There was actually a lot of people who developed previous processes and came up with high-level information. And people got better at deconstructing the technology behind these different processes and procedures, by the way. But just going over the history, it's important to note, and I give credit to all these people where credit is due, like the securities information that was going on negotiable instruments comes from a guy named David Young down in Texas. Look up David Young. He's up there in age. He had a YouTube channel. He was one of the first to use his estate where he would have it stamped with a medallion signature and add securities to it. I was in contact a few years to a couple years ago with the guy down in El Paso, Texas. I can't remember his name offhand, by the way. I think I still have his number. He remembers me, definitely, by the way. And he had came up with the process where he went over with me. He knew how to discharge debt for commercial stuff, commercial properties and things, not even dealing with the straw name that people have had success from. So there's a lot of different layers and areas of study that does take a lot of time, that can be time consuming. There's been groups of people that have been able to team up with one another and assist others, and that's been good. But I understand there's a lot of people that are in this by themselves, and they don't have a lot of help. They don't have a lot of assistance, by the way. And I want to say I had a subscriber that mentioned something to me. We were listening to a particular call, and I just want to put this disclaimer out there. I will never belittle someone, demean someone, just because you're not knowledgeable or you don't know certain information. You can always feel free to reach out to me, as people have done in the past, to ask me questions or provide evidence, which I've had behind what I do speak about and what I have done. And I think it is fair when people do ask you, have you done this yet? And yeah, I can answer that honestly. When I was in some Telegram rooms and things, and I was challenged and questioned, things that I've had success with in the past, things I just haven't gotten around to, and I can be honest about. But I do still know about some of those processes because I studied being in this information many years ago. I had a broad perspective of this information, and I'm still going back to the foundation. Keep in mind, you can always decide not to contract with these entities, because what has happened as years ago, as society has changed, people don't have farms anymore. A lot of people live in the cities, even suburban areas. And it's not the same as like a lot of people years ago started off how can you put it? Our ancestors or great grandparents, they had more children. I had a teacher in school years ago, and they talked about this. This is very important to understand this. And the way they did commerce in the commercial world, when they interacted in business, like how we have our local county and things, there's a reason where these different things derive from, whether you go to probate court or you need to get your marriage certificate or birth certificate, these licenses and things done. There was a point in time where years ago when you had cattle or you were raising animals, that you didn't have like the grocery stores, the convenience of the grocery stores that we have now in certain areas like Kroger, Walmart's, just to throw names, or Costco. People had to depend on the farms or the local stores in their area that were more rural during this particular time period. So say if you had a cattle that escaped, left your property, just like your stray dog or cats, leave the owner's house all the time. Your animal that you own, if it was a horse, a cow, most likely it was branded. This is where a reason you look up the history. A lot of these things have meanings and purpose, and it's important to understand where they derive from and give credit where credit is due to the original people who helped develop this technology and information. At least acknowledge those people. And when you do understand the fundamentals and basics, it does help give you and provide a better understanding down the road. So I wanted to clear up some of the mythology out there that some people say. For example, the United States is not a corporation. Yes, it is. Pursuant to Title 28, Section 3002 of the United States Code states the United States is a federal corporation, and unequivocally states this. And look up subsection 15, check out section A, B, and C. No different than in business like General Motors or McDonald's. What's happening is when people contract through the Social Security number, the Social Security card, which that all caps name, the lingus, is mentioned, the straw name. The legal definition, by the way, the point of this video is called lingus. You can look up. It's spelled ENS. E is in Edward, N is in Nancy, S is in Sam, L is in Larry, E is in Edward, G is in girl, I is in Icarus, S is in Sam. Lingus. Look up the term lingus. It's a definition. You'll see it's an artificial being. So this is distinguished in legalese, which is separate from what we were taught in grade school, which I say we would have been a lot more advanced or ahead, because I've heard the people that do study this information, their kids are going to be like X-Men when they get older, super children. Those parents are doing the right thing by giving their children a head start and learning this complex information that even as adults, it's hard for people to grasp some of these concepts. But I wanted to do this video to clear some of the myths and rumors and go into some of the history. So once again, the legal definition of straw man is actually in lingus, by the way. But what I was reading earlier, I was going into the history. It's related, and this deals with the rules of grammar. There are rules with grammar, regular English. This goes back to Roman law. Capitis diminutiu, or capitis diminutiu, mean diminished capacity, by the way. And there were three changes of state or condition that was attended to at the time. The term by which Romans denoted degradation into an inferior civil condition through the loss of rights, freedom of citizenship, or family. The extreme form of it, diminutio capitis maxima, was entailed by the loss of freedom, which involved the loss of all other rights, by the way. So now I'm going to go, there's actually a PDF file you can look up on that in case you're skeptical. And once again, I reference to the earlier people in the movement years ago to give credit to Barton Butts, Dan Benham, and others who contributed to cracking the code. Also, rest in peace to Jordan Maxwell, the Godfather, by the way, was one of the nicknames. He studied eschatology, astrology, linguistics, forensic history, things of that sort, by the way, to give you an understanding, the background to where this information, the people that contributed. But the definition was in Cracking the Code, and it's more extensive. You can actually still find some PDF files or versions of that. You still may be able to possibly pull those up online, by the way, even though that book is out of print. What you can do is you can go to your office supply store, and what I have a friend of mine likes to do to give you an idea, this helps with studying. You can print those documents up, put them inside sheet protectors. You can enlarge the font so it's easier for you to read, so it's not harder for your eyes to read. Like, you know how the book is small, has small print, or harder for some people that don't have 20/20 or perfect vision. I know people that have different, I've spoken to personally, that when it comes to their eyesight and things. So one of the things you can do to help your studying material, I was given this idea some years ago. You can reprint these documents up, and you can put them on screen protectors, which is like clear papers, you stick inside. It may seem tedious, and you can create like your own ebooks for study reference, study purposes. And some of these books have visuals in there. They will help give you a point of reference to help you study and grasp these concepts that are hard for some people to comprehend. Some people I know get it, and this is like old information or basic information to people that are already advanced. But I wanted to do a series where I go down the road, I'll go over advanced information, but take you back, because some of the basic information gets into the advanced information. When I'll do a video down the road again, I'm planning on removing contracts. Like you guys always hear me harp on the voter registration. That's a form of an adhesion contract. That's also a benefit privilege. Like I said, you have the right not to contract with these people, just like the companies have to let you know when you have the ability to opt out. Like, for example, if you're with T-Mobile or Metro PCS phone service, they have you where you log in the app and it has a part where it says, do not sell my information. They have to give you this ability to opt out. But why is it when you go to renew your license with the Secretary of State, those of you all that still have these government contracts, they try to force you or belittle you or put you in a state of fear to make it seem like, appear as though you have to have these contracts. When we're learning, there's ways to replace these things and operate, which puts people on the fence about this information. So we're here. We've got all the information now to debunk those gray areas, those rumors, and people that are now even getting access to the funding or money, by the way. And that's very important because I've mentioned this time and time again. The banking system debt is used as a weapon against us, obviously. So kudos to the people that are having success full success, getting cars, discharging debt successfully, getting rid of bills, exposing corporations, the fraud they've been doing, double dipping, committing securities fraud, also tax fraud as well, by the way. So I'm going to go over the definition one more time again of in lingus. This is the alternate term for straw man. It says a being of the law, an entity created and existing by operation of law with an independent legal personality, such as a corporation. Now it's interesting. I encourage you guys, I didn't do a video about this, but to look up the definition of the term corporation, by the way, is look up the definition of the term corporation. Also look up the definition of the word person. And the definition of the word person, it also deals with a corporation. There's also, did you know, there's a difference between natural person, a legal definition between natural person and person. Now, I won't get into that because I'm not going to take you all down a rabbit hole, but I was informed years ago by my source, one of my sources, I won't say his name, that explained to me when he would go to court what he would say to the judge. He was even put on a form of a local do not detain list many years ago. He informed me about, by the way, so he didn't have to keep getting locked up and getting bailed out after 72 hours or so many days, because he had a family as well. And I know that must have been frustrating for what his wife was going through, his wife and his kids at the time. But he was a fighter, true veteran. This is people, to give credit, people that actually I knew personally put in work to be the sacrificial lamb. So we got to the good information that we have nowadays, where people have done some phenomenal things. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday personally that has personally had major success. I was telling him how people have even attempted to pay me to get to know him or get access to his information. I'm actually going through private training, private classes, by the way, and I don't publicly advertise with the meetings that I have. One of my other friends I've known for a very long time is going to be joining, but I have to keep it small, you know, where we meet periodically on a consistent basis. And I won't say their names to protect their identity. But once again, let me see if I can pull up some other definitions. In lingus, the legal meaning, the definition means it's Latin. It's Latin for, this is straw man. So mind you, judges also have, forgot to go over this, plausible deniability. So they have the right, if you mention straw man in court, that's why if you watch those so-called sovereign citizen videos, or those videos where those people try to debunk sovereign citizens and those people they say that are tying up the court systems, the reason why those people, they don't know any better. They've got a little bit of information, they just ran with it like gobbledygook, and they think that they're law experts. I don't claim to be a law expert. That's why in many cases you guys do hear me give a disclaimer. I may not have given one yet, but in case not, keep in mind this video is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes. This video is not to be construed as legal advice. Any event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged you do so at one's own leisure, at your own leisure. Dorsey's Resource Channel is not responsible or liable for anyone's misuse of the information being presented. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her own homework into the matter if you feel otherwise. And also keep in mind, everyone is responsible for their own commercial affairs. Because remember, keep in mind, if you hire someone to do the paperwork or stuff for you, then it's like you're giving conservatorship. You're giving them control over your estate, to manage your estate, or you're declaring yourself incompetent. By the way, I understand not knocking you in some instances that may be required, but remember, those of us that are truly trying to be true to the movement, we have to learn how to be independent, operate on our own, and be doers. And that's why consistently, when I originally canceled my voter registration back in 2004, and there's more contracts I'm in the midst of, I'm going to terminate. I plan on terminating, severing. Because remember, keep in mind, as I explained earlier, you don't have to do business. You don't have to contract with these corporations. You can still get the same rights, enjoyments, benefits, and privileges because there's a form of the beneficiary of that name, of that legal entity, that straw person. So once again, the legal meaning of straw man, it's a term called in lingus. This is the legal meaning. It says Latin for a creature of the law, an artificial being as contrasted with a natural person, applied to corporations considered as deriving its existence, let's see, of entirely from the law. Interesting. So you have Erie Railroad versus Tompkins case in 1938, was case law for when many of the courts in this country went from common law to statutory courts. So what you're learning how to do is you're learning how to operate to not be in their jurisdiction, as they use traps to ensnare you. Lawyers are like vultures, and you get into legal trouble. That's why down the road you're going to learn about asset protection as far as advanced classes, asset protection, how to be judgment proof legally, and also how can I say lawsuit proof and judgment proof. There's differences and there's levels to this in the types of contracts. In some instances, when you're getting to the higher levels in this, you might be quasi, where you're partially out, where you have some contracts that are still lingering, but you can operate from both sectors because you severed super contracts that you're not attached to. Like the voter registration is a form of a super contract, and don't be an organ donor if you can help it. That's another adhesion contract, benefit privilege that's tying you in to their jurisdiction. Remember, the states, the court system, they use your address. That's another important thing to gain territorial jurisdiction over you. When they bond your case together, what are they bonding? Think about your birth certificate, bond certificate, which is a form of a registered securities instrument. What are they bonding together? In certain college classes, my friend's wife gave me her college ebook that went along with her accounting book. It talked about marketable and non-marketable securities in there. Another important book to look up, and I went over this in the past, this book already. I already put this out here. I was actually one of the first to put this out there. I put it on my channel a long time ago, my other channel. It's called Business Law or Business and the Law. And if you're smart like I am and you do your homework, do your research, if you look up Business and the Law, that's a college course that is secretly encrypted that's related to information that people learn about in the sovereign movement. I just debunked this myth that this sovereign citizen stuff is made up, is gobbledygook. No, it's hidden. What they did is they hid from us how to do real commerce, how to operate. See, the elites were trained, they were taught by their parents. They were sent to private schools by invitation only. So see, that they created a whole nother system separately for themselves and gave us a system, as I explained to a good friend of mine, a close friend, that you don't even understand. We're a slave and you don't even know it. Slavery's going on in a different form. And I'm in the midst, and in some instances, you have to be willing to take a leap of faith. And I know some people are at different levels in this, and the levels can depend on your confidence or your ability of how much hard assets you have stored up to leave your 9-to-5 job, because that's another form of an adhesion contract where the employers are acting as withholding agents. And I found out from another channel where they're taking power of attorney behind the scenes and they're going to the treasury and they're doing all these things behind your back because they're actually impersonating a person. It's a form of identity theft by using your straw man as a transmitting utility, because we unknowingly gave them power of attorney. Now that should only apply to your duties within the capacity of just your job, professional duties, but not the other contracts that you're engaged in outside of work. So why, when you're just traveling to different places in your private automobile, they're classifying you as a commercial driver? You don't have a CDO, you're not a truck driver, but why are everyone with public plates, they're classifying you as a commercial truck driver, and you're not a commercial truck driver? Look up. I just found out recently from studying the process, and I'm still learning about mastering it, but I found out some very important jewels, and someone from the Federal Motor Carrier Service, a third-party agent that works with one of the compliance agency, Foley is one of them. There's another agency that works directly with the U.S. Department of Transportation, and the agent told me, he said, if your vehicle weighs or automobile weighs less than 10,000 pounds, it does not qualify as a commercial vehicle. So I said, this would apply legally. Let me say that again. If your vehicle is below 10,000 pounds, it does not qualify as a commercial vehicle. So that means in certain instances, you would be exempt from the inspection or certain requirements. If you're doing your private motor carrier, your commercial, you're not for hire, exempt. That would mean your vehicle is not supposed to qualify as a commercial vehicle. And I said, wow, that would mean legally. And when I filled out the application, it came back as where I redid my driver's license recently, went from the enhanced license, because eventually you want to get rid of those. I went back to the standard, and they have you check a box now, because I was listening to someone who was doing a class, and they said they don't even tell people about the driver's license that states not for federal purposes. Now in Michigan, they just changed that one. But you know, it's interesting, when I looked at the paperwork, when the clerk gave me my paperwork back, and you know what it said? It matched up with the application that I filled out for my US DOT number for private. It said non-commercial. I said, wow, the same as when they gave me the slip back. So I have proof, but there's other things that I need to do before they stated, before you slap those plates on the back of your vehicle, you want to be totally out in the correct capacity. So there's levels to this to understand you will and still can be able to operate without having your windows busted out, being pulled over by the police. There's just certain procedures and steps, and that may be for down the road advanced classes, because this video was not for that. This video was specifically geared towards the definition. The other definition, the legal definition for strawman, is actually called in lingus, and I went into some of the history about capitis diminutiu maxima. So if you enjoyed this video, you like this video, feel free to comment. Don't forget to thumbs this video up, like this video, share this, and subscribe. Until next time, you all have a good one. Take care. Peace.